so we are solving quadratics, completing the square again. So we're doing some more completing the square, but this time we're going to have a number in front of the x squared, which is different than all of the examples that we did yesterday. Okay, so what happens when there is a number in front of the x squared? We don't want to do bottoms up.
Bottoms down.
Okay, because this one is unfactorable. So let's say we tried GCF, we tried bottoms up, nothing works. It's not factorable. So that means we have to use completing the square. We basically are going to be following the same steps of completing the square. There's just one added step in there. So before, when I wanted to complete the square, I didn't want the whole thing equal to 0. I wanted it equal to the number. So what do I have to do?
Take 18.
Add 18. Good. So that's going to give me 3x squared plus 12x plus blank equals 18 plus blank. You guys are okay with this so far, right? Okay. Yes. Okay, now we are trying to find the number that makes the left-hand side a perfect square trinomial. But there is something that's keeping us from being a perfect square trinomial. Does anybody see what it is? That 3.
Yeah.
So we can take out a GCF. So on the left-hand side, let's take out the GCF of 3. That's going to leave me with x squared plus 4x plus blank equals 18 plus blank. Now here's the other tricky part. So we're adding the step of taking out the GCF. But whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So if I took out a GCF of 3 here, in this blank, I also have to take out a GCF of 3.
I thought you multiplied by 3, whatever went to the 3.
Okay, so how do I fill in the blank, guys? What's the formula? B over 2 squared. Excellent. What's B in this case? 4. So 4 over 2 squared, which is 2 squared, which is 4. So 4 goes in the blank here, and then Nigina, to answer your question, we can just put 4 in the blank here. Because, look, if I were to distribute that GCF back in, what would that 4 turn into?
16.
A 12. Which means this blank has to be a 12, right? So, but 3 times 4 gives me 12. So the reason why I have you guys factor out that GCF is so that you can fill in the same number in the blank and you don't have to remember to multiply. So as soon as you take the GCF out here, take a GCF out right here as well. So the reason why we're not taking a GCF out of the 18 is because whatever I add to one side, I have to add to the other, right? In this blank, I'm adding a 3 times 4, which is 12. So in this blank, I'm adding a 3 times 4, which is 12. The only reason why I have you guys write the 3 times blank is so that it's matching what's going on the left-hand side, and then you can just fill in the 4 into the blank. Okay, does that make sense? So I want you to just be able to fill in the same thing into the blanks without having to remember to multiply by 3. So that's why I have you take out the GCF in this one. It's really just multiplying by 3 because 3 times 4 gives me that 12. Okay, so you're good? Okay. All right, so we can factor, now we're just doing everything with completing the square exactly the same. So how does this guy factor right here? X squared plus 4x plus 4. How can we factor that? X plus 2 squared equals, this is a 12. 18 plus 12 gives me 30. Now solving should be easy, right? What do I do first? We don't want to square root yet. We want to divide by 3 first. So we get x plus 2 squared equals 10. And now we can square root. So that's going to give me x plus 2 equals, what do I always have to do when I'm taking the square root? Plus or minus. Can I pull anything out of the root 10? No, so we leave it as root 10. So my answer is x equals Good. -2 plus or minus square root 10. You're going to get your quiz 1 back today. I saw several people stop here and give x plus 2 equals plus or minus root 10. You have to get x by itself, so you need to make sure that you're moving whatever's being added or subtracted to x to the other side. How many answers are actually here? 2. -2 plus root 10 and -2 minus root 10. So there's actually 2 answers there. Okay? So not much has actually changed, right? Just the GCF halfway through. You guys feel okay about it? Let's do one more.
How many more steps?
Okay. So example 2, 5x squared plus 20x plus 14. To complete the square, what do I have to do first? Subtract 14. Excellent. So we get 5x squared plus 20x plus blank equals -14 plus blank. There is something that is keeping the left-hand side from being a perfect square trinomial. What is it? It's the GCF of 5, so factor it out. X squared plus 4x plus blank equals -14 plus 5 times blank. So we factored out a GCF on the left. We have to take out that 5 on the right.
What about that egg?
What goes in the blank?
4.
Nigina, you said 4. Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
4.
Sure. Wait, what?
C is b over 2 squared.
Oh.
4 over 2 squared, which is 2 squared, which is 4. So we put 4 in each of the blanks. So we, Elena asked a good question. She said, why didn't we use the 20? The reason being is because the x squared is not a perfect square when there's that 5 attached to it. So we have to factor out the 5 first, and then we can use this guy as our b. So in the blanks is 4. What do I do next after this step?
Solve.
Can't solve yet. X plus 2 squared. Good. That starts with an F and ends with an actor. Actor. Equals -14 plus, that's 20. So that's going to be +6. Okay, then what? Divide by 5. So that is x plus 2 squared equals 6 over 5. And last step, square root. So remember, when you're taking the square root of the whole thing, that's going to be x plus 2 equals plus or minus square root 6 over square root 5. So you can split it up. We can't have a square root in the denominator, so what do I need to do? Multiply by root 5 over root 5.
Oh.
So we're rationalizing the denominator. So we get x plus 2 equals plus or minus root 30 over 5. And then very last step, subtract 2. So we get x equals -2 plus or minus root 30 over 5. And that's your answer. So it can be done even with a fraction. One. Okay guys, last problem for this set. Example 3. We have a box. I am telling you that the length is x plus 8 and the width is x. And the area is equal to 40. Okay, this is an area. They're telling us what the area is. What's the formula for area, guys? Length times width, or base times height, same thing. Do I know the length?
Yes.
Do I know the width?
Yes.
So what could I do?
Plug it in.
Plug them in. So that would be x times X plus 8 equals what?
40.
40. Very nice. Okay, guys, what do I do?
Divide X? Oh, no.
I wouldn't divide X. That's not going to help us much. Let's distribute. So that's going to be X squared plus 8X equals 40. Does this look like something we've been doing? Yeah, I left a space. So what am you going to put in the space? This is a completing the square. Okay, let's see if you guys can do it without me. What would go in the blank?
No idea. Wait.
It's gonna be 16.
16.
How do we get 16? B over 2 squared. So that's 8 over 2 squared, which is 4 squared, which is 16. So how does the left-hand side factor? X plus 4 squared. It's the number that we get before we square. Equals 56. Next step, square root. Whenever I take the square root, what has to happen?
Plus or minus.
Plus or minus, thank you. So that's plus or minus root 56. Can I pull anything out of the square root of 56? Yeah, it's going to be plus or minus
2 root 14?
2 root 14. So that's x plus 4 equals plus or minus 2 root 14. And how would I solve for x? So that gives me x equals negative 4 plus or minus 2 root 14. Okay, let's think about this, guys. X is the width, right? Is it possible to have negative width? No. So there's two answers here, right? Is there one answer that we should eliminate?
The negative one.
The negative one. So let's think about it. If I have negative 4 plus 2 root 14, root 14 comes out to like, it's somewhere in between 3 and 4. So it's like 3 point something something. So 3 point something something times 2 gives me 6. Minus 4. Is that going to give me a positive or a negative number? Positive. So then if I use the negative of this, 3 point something something times negative 2, that gives me a negative 6 point something minus 4. Is that going to give me a positive or a negative answer? A negative answer. So what's the only answer I should have for x? Negative 4 plus 2 root 14. So you have to think about, does my answer make sense? Okay, another way that we could think about this is negative 4 minus 2 root 14. It doesn't matter what 2 root 14 comes out to. Negative plus a negative still comes out as a negative, right? I'm still going in the negative direction. So a negative width does not make sense. So the only possibility is negative 4 plus 2 root 14. Okay? You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.